What's up, y'all? Winnie here, and welcome back to the SP Foundation Wiki. As I'm sure you've noticed, I'm trying something a little different than I usually do. I couldn't figure out how to get this working the last time I tried to do it, and it's been a couple of years, so now I'm trying it with a different program, and I also inexplicably learned how to use OBS today. Um, I'll attribute that to being forced to learn how to use something like OBS uh, when Avermedia decided to update on me in a really weird way and become a whole new program. So I decided to check and see if I can get this working while doing SCP videos. I was considering doing it with the guy that I use for the thumbnails, but I wasn't sure how to go about editing the mouth to move because the art was really good and I didn't want to mess it up. But this art here was a meme art that one of my friends did for me a few years ago, and I already had the edits in place for him talking. So, I'm going to try to use this one. Um, Today we're going to be checking out Cameraman. I already got it open. Because since I'm still learning OBS, I have to have it minimized, otherwise it's going to be like, oh, we got all the things because the window, blah, 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 it'd be like that. So, it's safe, SCP-1491. It looks like it's just a box. SCP-1491 is to be contained in a standard humanoid containment cell. No additional special procedures are required. Non-destructive testing requests are to be submitted to the relevant responsible directing researcher, presently Dr. Richard Littlefield. I thought it said Littlefeld, but I ain't. It appears to the naked eye to be a 46-year-old Caucasian male formerly known as somebody. When viewed via electronic or photographic media, 1491 appears to be a something brand fixed speed limit enforcement camera, mounted on a pole with a combined total height of 3.1 metries. I know it's meters, but that's how it's written. Metries. Um, SCP-1491's anomalous nature became known during a review by local law enforcement of CCTV recordings somewhere in a town center, Tree, following an unrelated robbery. It was captured within its home following identification. So got a test log here. Test 1. Procedure. Subject in containment cell with no instructions, viewed by eye and by video recording. Results. Subject observed by eye to be a human male, clothed in a standard issue Foundation humanoid SCP jumpsuit. Subject is observed sitting, pacing, and sleeping. They are observed by video to be a blank brand speed camera. The subject appears to move with no obvious means of locomotion, standing upright with the base of its pole sliding along the floor. Subject was observed to hop up from the floor to the seat of the chair where it sat, standing upright and immobile. The subject was observed laying rigid and immobile on the bed. Note, of particular interest to me is the rigid nature of the subject when sitting. What would have happened if the ceiling were lower? Dr. Littlefield, is the next test a lower ceiling? Looks like it. Next, a clear perspex box with a lid dimensions 1.5 meters cubed. The subject is instructed to sit inside the box and close the lid. Subject viewed by eye and by video recording. Results. Subject observed by eye to climb into the box and sit cross-legged, closing the lid. Subject observed by video to hop into the box and close the lid. Notes. How a 3-meter tall object was able to fit into a 1.5-meter tall box without bending or folding in any way, I just don't know. I can see it happen on the video, but I can't explain it. And the more I look at it, the more my eyes water. Passing this to the physicist, Dr. Littlefield. Test 3. Subject 1941. One small rubber ball. The subject is instructed to pick up the ball from a table. Subject viewed by video recording. Results. Ball appears to jump from the table and hover in midair next to the subject with no visible means of support. Ball lowers back to the table similarly. Subsequent inspection of the ball shows no anomalies. I start to wonder which to believe, my own eyes or the eye of the camera. Is this a camera that we think looks like a man? Or is this a man who fools cameras into thinking it's a camera? I'd pass this one to the philosophers if we had any. Probably should. Test 4. One blank brand car belonging to Dr. Littlefield. Procedure. Subject instructed to stand beside closed test track at Sector 25 whilst the car was driven past at 130 kilometers per hour by Dr. Littlefield. Subject viewed by video recording. Results. Subject's infrared flash is observed to operate. Dr. Littlefield received a fixed penalty notice, speeding fine, letter from somewhere, police at his home address 4 days later. Further investigation found appropriate police records to match the letter, recording the offense as having occurred on the nearby blank road. Notes. I was driving on private land, I'm not paying it. Addendum. Dr. Littlefield has been advised that the result of Test 4, though unanticipated, constitutes a minor containment breach and that future tests of a similar nature should be avoided. Okay, so it doesn't sound like he's particularly bad, and that's probably why it's safe. It's just a guy who happens to look like a camera when looked at through cameras instead of eyes. Which begs the reason, what would they see if somebody were to look at it with an eye, like a James Bond style eyeball that's actually a camera? Because technically they're looking at it with their eyes, but they're also looking at it with a camera. So what would the camera feed from an eyeball camera give back if it was looking at this guy? Something to think about. Not really something to think about. I'll think about it for maybe like the next 35 seconds and then completely forget that any of this happened. But that's going to do it for this episode. If you liked it, a like and a subscribe would be groovy. If you didn't, don't. If you want to click the bell, you can do that as well so that you're notified of future uploads. And there's probably not really anyone you hearing the sound of the mouse clicking right next to the microphone when I stop the video, but that's about to happen. Later.